So without further ado, let's get started. Over the course of the semester, we as a class have been discussing digital literacy and what it means to be digitally literate. We have read and completed many projects to gain insight into digital literacy. Based on the various theorists read and the various projects that we have completed for this class, I have formulated an idea of what it means to be digitally literate. In her novel Literacy and Technology Linked, Sydney Self gives her brief explanation of what she believes technological literacy is. According to her, technological literacy refers to a complex set of socially and culturally situated values, practices, and skills involved in operating linguistically within the context of electronic environments, including reading, writing, and communicating. The term further refers to linking of technology and literacy at fundamental levels of both conception and social practice. In the beginning of the school year, we discussed how the education system is degrading students' creativity. This degradation of creativity has influenced students' ability to look at the world as a whole. The best example of this is the speech by David Foster Wallace. In the speech, he explains how we live in our bubbles, too afraid to think about what's going on in the world outside. The first part about being digitally literate is opening yourself to the world. Kirby Ferguson expands on this idea in a video series he calls Everything is a Remix. In it, he discusses how most projects end up as recreations or reimaginations of certain other different bodies of work that had been created earlier. We were first exposed to the digital world as a class through Twitter. Twitter has served many purposes for this class. At first, we used Twitter for the comments on the reading using the clever hashtag CTPF15. Then we learned from Silver the difference between thick and thin tweets. Another part of digital literacy is the ability to use open and available technology. Kevin Kelly shares this idea in a theory he calls becoming screen literate. Part of Kelly's theory is that in an abundance of screens and technology, we must be able to navigate through the distractions to get to the goals we seek. In other words, we must use technology for our own edification and benefit without being distracted by nonsense. Kelly expanded on this idea in an earlier body of work titled We Are the Web. In this article, Kelly explains that because of the constant distractions on the web, we lose the true purpose of the internet. Kelly believes that we, the users, are what make up the internet, and it would be nothing and nowhere without us. Kelly is not alone in this, however. Sherry Turkle would have agreed with a lot of the points that Kelly made in his article. In it, she discusses how we as a society have moved toward a singularistic view of ourselves to a pluralistic view of ourselves. Part of being digitally literate is learning to look at the larger picture. The next piece of technology we were introduced to was Zeit. Zeit is a website and an app that allows you to handpick certain issues that you find interesting and allow you to share certain articles based on your interest. We use them to share on our blogs. We were then taught how to use WordPress to set up our own websites. We each created blogs geared to our own interests. Some people wrote on meditation, others on cooking, others on sports. I decided to focus on the Philadelphia Flyers, as I am a huge hockey fan. This is the homepage of my website, but as you can see, I've covered many other topics, including the goalie controversy, which has been surrounding the Philadelphia Flyers this season. Through this, we learned the importance of engaging in activity on the web, through user interaction on our website, as well as user comments on our website and blog posts. We have also learned the negative consequences of activity on the web. In his TED Talk, Eli Pariser talks about the dangers of filter bubbles. Pariser believes that the internet is an infrastructure that supports filter bubbles, as he calls them. Filter bubbles are the internet's way of catering to our own experience to how it thinks we might want to view the world. Pariser talks about the dangers of letting the web control our experience because it can eliminate the ability of the digitally literate to be open to the world. Next, we use IFTTT, a workflow website which allows you to alter certain aspects of your website if certain things happen. So, for example, if someone commented on a blog post, I could have it automatically reply "thank you" every single time. Next, as a class, we did a diary of phone interactivity in which we documented every time we got on our phone, for how long, and what we interrupted while we were on our phone. The information that we collected was very, very interesting. For example, I did not have many activities interrupted. My number one activity interrupted was driving, but in my defense, I did get a text message. Overall, I found that I used my phone for mostly social interactions, either text messages or phone calls, with the exception of watching a TV show once in a while. Also in a TED Talk, Monica Lewinsky talks about the negative consequences of internet shaming. As most of us know, Ms. Lewinsky is known for having sex with the president. But how would it feel if you were publicly ridiculed over and over again? In the TED Talk, Lewinsky talks about the dangers of internet shaming and how popular it truly has become. The perfect example of this phenomena of internet shaming is Justine Sacco. Lewinsky briefly touches on her in her TED Talk. Justine Sacco made one racist tweet, and at the end of her flight, she lost her job and almost all of her friends. Action should have consequences, but the punishment of internet shaming is always disproportionate to the act itself. Digital literacy is a tricky term to define, but in communications theory and practice, I have learned what the term truly means. In order to be digitally literate, one must be open to the world while still keeping your eye firmly on the larger picture. One must also use open and available technology for his or her own edification and benefit without being distracted. However, in being digitally literate, there is also a call to fixing existing problems. That's what it means to be digitally literate. Thank you, and I hope you have enjoyed my presentation today.